Caribbean Newsline is brought to you by the Barbados Tourism Marketing Inc.
Liat pilots give the airline an ultimatum over salaries. Our top story in Caribbean Newsline for Monday, May 22nd. From the CMC News Center in Bridgetown, I'm Dawn Paris. Good evening. There could be turbulence in regional skies next month if pilots at Liat don't get what they're asking for. The Leeward Islands Airline Pilots Association, LIALPA, has given management of the Antigua-based carrier a June 1st deadline to honor a salary deal reached with pilots at the start of the year. LIALPA issued a statement on Monday warning that if Liat doesn't change its course and respect the basic principles of industrial relations and collective bargaining, it will be forced to take action. It did not specify, however, exactly what that action would entail. Explaining how relations have reached what it describes as an all-time low, LIALPA said that after stalling and legal maneuvering by the airline since salary negotiations began in 2012, the union accepted a salary package offer from the company in January this year. The association said it accepted that deal, which covers the 2012-2017 period, on the premise that the pilots would make this one-off concession to ensure the survival of the company. But it says to date, Liat has not honored that agreement and has gone as far as rejecting the association's attorney's suggestion that a consent order be obtained in the industrial court to formalize the salary agreement, which would pave the way for its implementation. LIALPA has therefore made a final appeal to Liat to keep up its end of the bargain to avoid escalation of the matter. It said failure to do so would leave the association with no other choice but to act so as to protect the interest and rights of its membership. Meantime, Liat's acting CEO, Julie Reefer-Jones, on Monday said the management had not received any formal notification from LIALPA on the ultimatum and that she became aware of it through the media, just like everyone else. Venezuela's ambassador to Guyana, Rina Diaz, on Monday called on Georgetown to support the Nicolas Maduro administration in its call for an end to the ongoing political conflict. Addressing a news conference, Diaz also issued an appeal for assistance from other regional governments, saying the violence in Caracas can be attributed to radical sections of the opposition. She also charged that there is an international media campaign to falsify the reality of events in Venezuela, while attacks on citizens and law enforcement officials are not being reported. Her call for help comes on the heels of a CARICOM foreign ministers meeting in Barbados last week, which called for non-interference in the internal affairs of the South American country. A statement issued by the ministers condemned the ongoing violence and the loss of life and property in Venezuela. In other news, Governor of the Bank of Jamaica, Brian Winter, says the institution will be assessing the impact of recent flooding to determine whether inflation will be affected. This follows concerns that there could be price increases in the wake of crops being damaged. Winter says it's too early to say what impact damage to the agricultural sector will have on the bank's forecast for inflation. Dashan Hendricks of TVJ News has more.
Devastation in Jamaica from days of flood rains. The impact is expected to be felt in infrastructure damage and people being displaced. Agriculture Minister Carson Muda says the losses on farms will cost millions. So will the Bank of Jamaica maintain its inflation forecast in the range of 4 to 6% for this fiscal year?
The answer is yes.
However, Mr. Winter expanded his answer, saying what will happen to inflation depends on which agricultural products are affected by the floods and how long they take to recover.
We will be assessing when we have that information, which we don't yet have at the bank. And when I say have the information, not in general, but in enough detail to be able to see if there's any reason to change our forecast of what will happen to inflation. But the target will not change.
And while the Bank of Jamaica is waiting for the official figures, the fallout from the sugarcane industry alone is being estimated at $2 billion Jamaica dollars. That's according to President of the Jamaica Agricultural Society, Senator Norman Grant, who says that about half of the island's banana production has also been affected. And he says farmers shouldn't have to wait for the final assessment to get help.
The loss to the cane industry is in the region of $2 billion. 2 billion Jamaican dollars. The coffee sector in the hills has sustained loss. Cash crop is almost wiped out. There must be an immediate strategy to support, to develop a national agricultural relief support program to support all the farmers who have been affected by this disaster.
We move over to Bermuda. An opposition MP has made good on his promise to bring back a bill that effectively goes against a recent court decision to allow gay marriage in the country. Wayne Furbert has tabled the Human Rights Amendment Act 2017, which seeks to define marriage as between a male and a female. This comes 2 weeks after High Court Justice Charles Zeta Simmons ruled in favor of a gay couple who'd challenged the registrar's decision to decline their marriage application. The judge contended that the common law discriminates against same-sex couples by excluding them from the institution of marriage. And that judgment came almost a year after a non-binding referendum in which the majority of Bermudians who cast ballots voted against same-sex unions and marriage. Furbert is adamant that one person should not be allowed to make a decision that thousands had voted against.
Why should those individuals who believe that marriage should be defined between a male and female just sit down and say, it's all over? We're not at that stage. And why should one person make a decision on behalf of the 60,000 people or the 14,000 people who voted against it? It can't be right. First time in history, throughout the world, one judge has made a decision in that way. Even in the United States, it was 9 people, the Supreme Court, and it was a 5-4 vote. But now we have one person deciding? I don't think so.
Furbert had tabled the same private member's bill last year and it was defeated in the Senate. The Constitution provides for a bill to be brought back a year after it fails. The Progressive Labour Party MP says he's taking it back because it's what the people want.
Called, text, stopped on the street, and said, Wayne, do something. You brought a private member's bill last year, and we want you to do something again. And so we didn't feel that we should abrogate our responsibility. The courts went as far as it did. One person made a decision, and Parliament should speak. Parliament has always been supreme, just below the Constitution. Long we're not doing anything outside of the Constitution. But we should, at the end of the day, speak on behalf of the people.
Staying in Bermuda, opposition leader David Burt has announced plans to call a motion of no confidence in the ruling One Bermuda Alliance, OBA, when Parliament reopens on June 9th. This after his Progressive Labour Party, PLP, claimed 2 victories in the House of Assembly last Friday. The passage of its bill for the decriminalization of small amounts of cannabis and a bill to cut Bermuda's statutory interest in half. Burt says it's clear the minority OBA government no longer has control of Parliament and it's time for Bermudians to decide the country's future. The next election is expected to be called later this year, although under the Constitution it can be delayed until next March. The OBA narrowly won the December 2012 general election, taking 19 seats to the PLP's 17, but since then 2 of the ruling party's MPs have left the governing side to sit as independents in Parliament. While both parties have the same number of MPs now, the opposition PLP has 1 less vote because one of its members, Randy Horton, is the Speaker of the House and he can only vote if there is a tie. Still to come in Caribbean Newsline, developing countries look to strengthen their position in international trade. Stay with us.
Follow your heart to the 21st edition of the St. Kitts Music Festival from the 22nd to the 24th of June. featuring Shabaranks, Ultimate Rejects, The Boozman, Mobado, Jack Pure, DJ Private Riot, and back together again, Square One. Also performing Third Word. Voice, King Mighty Chalk Dust, Credence Clearwater Revisited, Ed Robinson, Ricardo Drew, Tedison John, Felicia Ross, Brianna D, Lyrical, and Google Dogs. For more information, log on to www.stkitsmusicfestival.net.
Ready. It's another episode. Then be out on the road. This is what we love to celebrate, to celebrate. This is not Hollywood. No, we don't come out the road. Drink, drink, drink.
King Baba and the guitar. Every fat dollar boy keep on calling me wrong name. But that's okay, cause that's my babe. I don't understand how wearing a name tag on me. Don't know what to say, he's still calling me wrong name.
Don't get vexed with me. Don't say that.
Welcome back. Representatives of the African, Caribbean and Pacific Bloc, the ACP, are meeting in Barbados this week with their counterparts from the Commonwealth and the European Union to discuss the next phase of a joint trade initiative aimed at assisting developing countries. The Hub and Spokes program seeks to help strengthen and enhance the trade capacity of the ACP grouping. The ACP's Assistant Secretary General for Sustainable Economic Development and Trade says the program also aims to help the former European colonies in the ACP to meet the Sustainable Development Goals.
Of the Agenda 2030 for Sustainable Development compels this partnership to not only continue but flourish if the ACP and the EU expect to contribute to transforming our world. The theme the leaders committed to when adopting the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals. International trade as an engine for development has been recognized in the Addis Ababa Action Agenda as one of the key means of implementing the SDGs.
Meanwhile, Barbados's Foreign Trade Minister Maxine McLean appealed to developed countries to take into consideration the social and economic challenges her country faces despite its status as a middle-income country.
Of course, Barbados is not classified as an LDC, and therefore I have to make a strong appeal for countries like Barbados classified as middle-income, highly indebted countries, and therefore as we address the realities of the lesser developed countries among us. And as my colleague pointed out a couple of weeks ago in Brussels, I made the case very strongly that we must, of course, not ignore the true vulnerabilities of countries like Barbados, and we have to work to ensure that we do not lose the several gains that we realize over the life of this program, for example.
A high court in Trinidad and Tobago has ordered government to hold off on implementing the controversial property tax for the time being. Justice Frank C. Prasad has granted a stay on the implementation of the decision by government that all property owners complete and submit a valuation return form. He also granted leave to former Agriculture Minister Devant Maharaj to challenge the legality of the enforcement of the property tax. As a result, the June 5th deadline given to citizens to present their documents for the calculation of their property's annual rental value has been voided. C. Prasad said the stay will remain in place until at least May 31st, but government says it will appeal the ruling. An investigation will be launched into Sunday morning's fire at an oil refinery in Curacao. The blaze occurred at one of the Isla Oil Refinery's crude distillation units. No one was injured in the fire, but an investigative committee has been formed to figure out what caused it. A double Olympic fencing champion from Guadeloupe has been appointed Minister of Sport in the new French government. We get the details in this special report from our partners over at France Caribe broadcast.
I accept the responsibility entrusted to me, such as I am, full of enthusiasm and determination. As a fighter, I know I will have to cross roads, but it doesn't scare me. The news of her appointment was welcomed with great pleasure to Petit-Bourg, his native commune in Guadeloupe. I'm very happy for her. She's from Petit-Bourg. She was raised here. I'm proud. It's a recognition for everything it has done in terms of sport, performance. I think that sport will be well represented.
Donc je pense que ce sera bien représenté donc en tant que la guêpe web.
Ah mais c'est génial.
It's great. Guadeloupe will be honored.
Une joie immense pour sa nomination.
Her appointment was an immense joy. We know her sporting career, but in addition, she's a dynamic, committed woman who is involved in the sport for youth, who is committed to fighting obesity. In Petit-Bourg, we have a project on this subject, so it's a great satisfaction.
Donc c'est une très grande satisfaction. Chaque fois qu'elle vient, elle est impliquée.
Every time she comes, she's involved. She has contacts with different fencing clubs, the Federation, the Petit-Bourg Club. As I tell you, she has taken initiatives to set up projects on the whole of Guadeloupe. So, being a minister today will improve our efficiency and also the means. And we must not forget that she's also the minister of the city and youth. We know her dynamism, her commitment. This will be an undeniable asset for French overseas, but also a force for the French. Laura Flessel is first of all a talent rivaled with swordsmanship at the Atlanta Olympic Games in 1996. The Guadeloupe woman gets 2 gold medals and a nickname, the Wasp. In 2012, she's designated as a tricolor flag carrier at the London Olympic Games, eliminated in the 8th final epilogue of a long career that ends in tears and in the arms of a daughter. Between the 2 laps of election, Laura Flessel called to vote for Emmanuel Macron, the new president of the Republic.
We thank our partners over at France Caribe broadcast for that report, and we encourage you to join us every Monday for news from the French West Indies. Ahead in Newsline Sport, still no timetable for Darren Bravo's return to the West Indies side. Stay with us.
The Sajiko Cahill School of Business and Management invites you to attend Navigating a Path to Growth, a risk and competitive intelligence conference at Hilton Barbados Resort on June 26th and 27th, 2017. Speakers include Global Strategy and Risk expert Dr. Andrea Schotter, Regional PwC Risk Assurance Leader Bruce Scott, Miss Lisa Padmore, Dr. Delisle Worrell, Mr. Ian D'Souza, Professor Patrick Hossain, Professor Gillian Marcel, and many others. For more information, call 246-424-7731 or visit www.uwichsb.org. Secure your space today.
Follow your heart to the 21st edition of the St. Kitts Music Festival from the 22nd to the 24th of June, featuring Shabba Ranks, Ultimate Rejects, The Boozman, Mobado, Jack Pure, DJ Private Riot, and back together again, Square One. Also performing Third Word, Voice, King Mighty Chalk Dust, Creedence Clearwater Revisited, Ed Robinson, Ricardo Drew, Teddyson John, Felicia Ross, Brianna D, Lyrical, and Goo Goo Dolls. For more information, log on to www.stkitsmusicfestival.net.
In a place where legends start, the beach is just the beginning. So live a little for the exhilaration and the colour of every moment, where time is and life is a spirited event. Immerse yourself in the culture, the music, the people, the island. Love Antigua and Barbuda. Embrace an experience that leaves you breathless, from cricket to sailing week to carnival and more. Antigua and Barbuda, the beach is just the beginning.
Chatting CARICOM, a 4-part series on the status of the regional integration process. Your chance to get answers.
We as a small island, how do we factor into that bigger picture?
Why is the process taking so long?
While there is liberty to move among the islands, you still have some level of restriction.
Chatting CARICOM also gives you updates on recent CARICOM projects.
We're seeking more and more to engage all our partners in moving forward for the development of our region.
We have come a very long way since we started.
Join the Caribbean community and CaribVision for Chatting CARICOM, a community for all. May 31st at 8 p.m.
And we continue with sports. With the critical tour of England approaching, Chief Selector Courtney Brown says there is still no timetable for Dan Bravo's return to the West Indies side. In fact, Brown told the Master United Insurance Line and Length TV show that the responsibility was now on the 28-year-old Trinidadian to indicate his availability, with a solution to the impasse already on the table. Brown said, quote, "I'm not sure when he will be available for selection again. There was some agreement between both parties, the West Indies Cricket Board and Bravo, but I think the ball really is in Darren's court now to determine that." Bravo and the WICB have been locked in an impasse ever since the player was sent home ahead of the Tri-Nations series in Zimbabwe last November for a controversial tweet in which he labelled WICB President Dave Cameron a big idiot. Last month, newly appointed WICB Chief Executive Johnny Grave said a deal had been struck with Bravo's representatives, but that move stalled because of legal action the player initiated against the board. The left-handed Bravo, the region's premier test batsman with an average of 40 from 49 tests, was sorely missed during the recent 3-test series against Pakistan, which West Indies lost 2-1 to hand the visitors their first ever win on Caribbean soil in nearly 6 decades. Regional netball powerhouse Jamaica was given a scare by Barbados before producing a final quarter comeback to land a 44-44 draw in the opening game of the 3-match series on Friday night. TVJ's Ricardo Chambers reports.
The Sunshine Girls have never lost to Barbados, and so despite all the off-court issues, including suspension of key players, they went into Friday night's contest as heavy favourites. But Barbados came with a plan and for the most part stuck to it, and to the Jamaicans as well, who led 12-11 at the end of the first quarter. Then Barbados took command, leading by as many as 8 in the second quarter. They won 15-10 for a 26-22 half-time lead. But under 21 players, goal shooter Shimona Nelson, 31 from 39, and goal attack Kasana Williams, 13 from 15, distinguished themselves well on the night as the Jamaicans cut the deficit to 1, 34-35 at the end of the third. And in a ding-dong final quarter, Nelson had chances to win it, but missed twice at the end as the match ended in a tie. A tie that coach Jermaine Allison McCracken in her first international was not disappointed with.
I mean, I think the Bajans were always going to bring it, and it's always going to test our girls because the 6 or 8 best players are off island at the moment. But I still have confidence that these girls can pull it together. There's a little few areas of cohesiveness on the court. We had so many turnovers and we didn't manage to capitalise on all of them. So we need to get that transition from a turnover, a very fast transition. We need to get that underway. But overall, I think the girls performed really well.
And those sentiments were echoed by Captain Stacey and Facey.
This is a fairly young team, and most of the players on this team don't have the experience that most of us had. So right now we are short because our regular team is not here at the moment. But the girls came out and they played well, and I'm very proud of the team.
Veteran Latanya Blackman was superb with 32 from 33 for Barbados, who achieved their best ever result against the Sunshine Girls.
Well, we are a little disappointed now because, you know, we were there to the finish. We were so close to actually getting over the finish line, and we didn't actually come out with the win that we really wanted to. But we're totally pleased with our play. The girls really did fight to the end. The game was physical, it was strong, but I felt that we were competitive, which is what we want to do here.
Sprint icon Usain Bolt was among high-profile members of the sports fraternity paying their last respects as Jamaica-born British high jumper Jermaine Mason was laid to rest on Sunday. Bolt, the multiple-time Olympic champion, was joined by the likes of Olympians Michael Frater and Nesta Carter, as well as former Reggae Boys stars Ricardo Gardner and Ian Goodson at the funeral held at Hagley Park Road Seventh-day Adventist Church. Jason Price, the husband of former Olympic and reigning world 100 meters champion Shelly-Ann Fraser-Price, was also there. Bolt, a close friend of Mason's, served as one of the pallbearers and wept openly during the service as friends and family recalled memories of the late athlete. Mason died last month at the age of 34 when he crashed while riding his motorcycle close to the Norman Manley International Airport in Kingston. We're going to take a break right now. Stay with us.
Caribbean Newsline is brought to you by the Barbados Tourism Marketing Inc.
Ready. It's another episode. When we out on the road, this is what we love to celebrate, to celebrate. This is not Hollywood. No, we don't come out the road. Drink, drink, drink.
King Baba and Nikita. Every fat that I go, you keep on calling me wrong name. But that's okay, cause that's my bitch. I don't understand how we're in the name tag on me. You know what to say, you still calling me wrong name.
Don't get vexed with me. Don't say that.
In a place where legends start, the beach is just the beginning. So live a little for the exhilaration and the color of every moment, where time is and life is a spirited event. Immerse yourself in the culture, the music, the people, the island. Love Antigua and Barbuda. Embrace an experience that leaves you breathless, from cricket to sailing week to carnival and more. Antigua and Barbuda, the beach is just the beginning.
Ravenel's Resort and Conference Center is the mecca of conferences in the island of Tobago. The state-of-the-art facility caters to executive forums, weddings, banquets, training, elegant dining, and tranquil accommodations. Guests at Ravenel's Resort can choose from self-catering, standard, deluxe, and executive rooms. Sit at the poolside and savor the ambiance of nature, or enjoy a sumptuous meal on the terrace and inside the Bouvardia restaurant. Let's go to Ravenel's Resort and Conference Center, the tranquil Caribbean Resort. Call 868-639-9666 or visit our website at www.rovenelsresorttobago.com.
A recap of the major developments of this day now. A possible showdown looming between Liat and its pilots over pay. And in sports, still no word as to when Darren Bravo will return to the West Indies team. And that's Caribbean Newsline. For news and sports round the clock, log on to ConnellNews.com. We'll be back here again tomorrow, but from all of us at CMC News, thank you for watching and good night.